Hey, what's up? Thanks for clicking. Today's video is going to be a little different. Exactly a year ago, I uploaded my first video on here, where I discussed a potential solution I came up with in regards to a conversation that was being had on Discord about hunter selection. Thought it might be a fun idea just to post another one of these design type videos on its anniversary, as I really do enjoy talking about this kind of stuff. I think it's fun. If there's anything you like or probably dislike about my idea, feel free to drop it down in the comments below. There's just about a 0% chance my idea would be interesting enough or even feasible enough for the devs to add into Hunt Royale, but feedback is feedback, which is never a waste, so let me, and possibly even the devs, know what you think about it. As we know, there was a poll created on Discord last month where Quar pitched some ideas for possible future content drops, one of them being the Uber Bosses concept. The idea was that players would take on rare boss encounters and earn a new gear type called Talismans. Now, around that time last month, Quar also opened up a public conversation thread and asked players what they thought about these proposed features, as well as the poll-winning idea, Talismans. On the dev and tester side of things, we've been talking about ways to optimize the game in general to cut down on the crazy lag spikes from players with high attacks per second, such as Gorgon, Centipede, even Tentacles for that matter, all that type of stuff. The most recent conversation has been about debuffs and whether there's room to update those mechanics so they fit better in today's meta. Specifically, we're talking about burn and basically explosions and how they work. With how many hits that can land every second thanks to attack speed and multi-shots, those explosion calculations on the back end really push the system to its limits. Now, giving both of these discussions some thought, I came up with an idea that could potentially solve both issues with one new system. I call it the Amulet System, and here's my pitch. Amulets represent different laws of reality in the world of Hunt Royale. Because of that, they act as conduits for huge amounts of power and energy. On their own, they're harmless, but an amulet can be tuned to tap into the latent energies of the ether, channeling cosmic power for those who choose to wield it. Amulets are a brand new item type that players can equip to their hunter's loadout. You can get them in a bunch of different ways, and each amulet has its own method of being earned. The difficulty and rarity vary a lot. Some are meant to show up early in your adventure, while others take more dedication or tougher achievements to snag. This could look like hitting trophy milestones, getting a rare shop offer, finishing clan boss achievements, doing endgame speedruns, farming undead ground endless modes, or even chasing an ultra rare dungeon drop you have to grind for. When you manage to obtain an amulet, it starts out empty. In the center, there's a large socket that's always available for use. Branching off from the body in that center slot are 9 prongs, each with a sealed cavity that you cannot interact with directly. The idea for players is pretty simple. It's a new piece of gear that has a socket in it, so drop a power stone into it and get the benefits. And while that's true, the benefits work a bit differently than what players are used to. For starters, every amulet, like I mentioned earlier, represents a law of reality in Hunt Royale, so that just basically means each one has its own thematic ties. Here's a few concepts of what could be made and released for players over time. The Amulet of Hemorrhaging, for example, revolves around the bleed mechanic, while the Amulet of Renewal here focuses on healing effects. If we take a closer look at, let's say, the Amulet of Combustion here, which deals with the burn mechanic, you'll see that it comes with 7 set bonuses. You can only equip one amulet at a time, so enabling those bonuses works a little bit differently than just equipping more gear. To unlock them, you socket a power stone with the matching level of whatever bonus you want to activate into the center slot. So if you drop a level 3 power stone into it, you'll unlock the first 3 set bonuses. If you were to put in a level 7 power stone, you'll unlock all 7. So having said all that, there are 3 main takeaways here. First, set bonuses are clearly tied to the theme of the amulet that they belong to. Since this is the combustion or fire amulet, all the bonuses revolve around the burn effect. Second, the 7th bonus introduces unique, powerful effects we've never seen in the game before. And third, it naturally makes you wonder why you wouldn't just socket a tier 7 power stone every single time so you can grab all 7 bonuses. So let's go over all 3 of those points, and I'll start with the last one because I feel it really shows what the Amulet system is built around, and that's the concept of player agency. The whole idea is to let players decide how they want to use this artifact to benefit their account. Since you can socket any level power stone, there's actually a really good reason someone might choose a lower level stone. As you use your amulet in battle, it slowly levels the socketed stone over time. The amulet acts as a conduit for the world's latent energies and channels that power straight into whatever stone you have equipped, passively strengthening it. So as your hunter earns experience while playing, your socketed Power Stone levels right along with you. Now obviously you'd have to put some limits on these XP games somehow, so endgame players can't just AFK all night in co-op mode and wake up to a fully leveled Power Stone. Maybe restrict XP to dungeons that have crystals inside of them. Something like, the crystals are harmonizing with your amulet to channel energy or frequencies. The point being, with the upcoming rework to early and mid-game progression, new players will end up in Dark Forest with far too few of Power Stones. This could be a good way to help them catch up so they can socket the new gear that they'll be unlocking. The rates would ultimately need to be set by Boombit's economy department, since allowing players to bypass the normal currency costs of leveling Power Stones is a pretty big ask. But something like a couple weeks of steady play to take a stone from 1 to 7 does feel somewhat reasonable, with the jump from level 6 to level 7 taking the longest, probably a full week's worth of XP on its own. So, if a new player wants to forego the full strength of a maxed out amulet, and instead use it as a consistent way to build up Power Stones for their gear sets, they can do that without feeling penalized. The socketed stone that they're trying to level will still grant lower tier set bonuses as it levels up, so the player still continues gaining value throughout the process. As for the set bonuses themselves, these are just baseline concepts for the kind of power players could expect from an amulet. Lower level bonuses are intentionally mild and not especially critical, while the higher you go up to level 6 and 7, the more game defining the effects become. So with that in mind, let's take a closer look at level 7 bonuses and see exactly how these things work. Depending on which level 7 Power Stone you socket into an amulet, any hunter that equips it gains an entirely new mechanic. Each Power Stone represents a law of reality in the Hunt Royale universe, and when its energies run through the amulet's innate power, the two will blend together into a combined effect. So for example, socketing a rotten stone unlocks Righteous Fire, allowing your burn effects to interact with undead and zombie enemies in a new way by simply making them burst into flame in your presence. Socketing a green stone grants Toxic Fumes, causing your burn stacks to scorch away any poison stacks on a target, releasing a poisonous gas that makes it hard for enemies to cast abilities without breathing it in. And if you were to slot in a red Power Stone into this burn-aligned amulet, you get Stoke Flames, pushing the raw intensity of your burn damage even higher. Now, these abilities and their values really need to be workshopped and balanced, obviously, but there's a concept here I'm sure you've picked up on. Each tier 7 set bonus shows 2 different damage values, with one being twice as much as the other. Those numbers correspond directly to Super and Mega merged Power Stones. In other words, you can socket a regular, Super, or Mega Power Stone into your amulet and get the same proportional power levels that mergers normally provide. The main Power Stone in a merger grants its full 100% value, while the minor stone, or stones, only contribute 50% of their effect. The amulet follows this same concept. The main Power Stone in a merger will always grant 100% of its level 7 bonus, while the supporting stone or stones would contribute half of their own level 7 bonus. This gives endgame players a huge amount of flexibility, letting them experiment with as many different combinations as they want. With multiple amulets in the game, each carrying its own theme and its own set of bonuses, players can fine-tune their loadouts to perfectly match their playstyle. It also gives the developers room to grow the game. Future bosses, events, and high-end encounters can be designed around these interactions, creating challenges that reward smart amulet pairings, and most importantly, creative builds. While that may sound all well and good, there's an elephant in the room when you start introducing the concept of socketing Super and Mega Stones. Changing or rotating them in and out of your amulet is going to be a pain, both mechanically and financially, since you'd need to create several different combinations of Super Stones just to have them on standby in case you want to socket them in for an encounter or two. That makes them basically unusable for your main gear, and way too expensive to have just sitting around hoping they'll get used at some point. And this is where we circle back to the 9 prongs on the amulet and their sealed cavities. Like I explained, the central socket is for adding a Power Stone to activate set bonuses or to have it leveled up, but the amulet has one more trick. Beyond just being a conduit for the laws of reality, it can also be shaped to act as a vessel for them as well. The rarely obtained Universal Core. If placed within the socket of an amulet, can be smashed apart, creating a temporary rift in the amulet's core that would allow the essence of a power stone to be stored as a magical font. Right, so in non-nerd talk, that just means, do you have an extra universal core? Do you have a level 7 power stone you can part with? Sweet. Take both of those, combine it with your amulet, now you'll have access to that stone's effect whenever you want. Once a prong has captured a power stone's effect, the player can select that prong, causing it to fold back over on itself, and it will align that magical font with the amulet socket. This will power the amulet with the essence of that level 7 power stone, activating all of the set's bonuses. Now, seeing how there are currently 9 different power stones in the game and 9 different prongs on these amulets, you can probably guess where this is going. But if you think about it, 9 universal cores and 9 different level 7 power stones is a pretty hefty price for just convenience sake, right? Like not having to resocket and unsocket things. So why would a player really want to do this? Well, once you've merged more than one power stone into your amulet, you can lay down multiple prongs at the same time, replicating the effects of having a super or a mega stone socketed. If you fully load up your amulet with all the different power stones, you have access to any combination of super or mega stones whenever you want, without the hassle of actually merging all those combinations. And yes, you could even save the different amulet layouts with your gear sets, just to cut down on micromanagement. But I know what you're thinking. Well, if you have a bunch of different power stones, could you lay them all down at the same time? Well, for now, the answer is no. Let's just say if you were to try that, the amulet would start violently surging with power, and just before it shattered, the prongs flung outward and returned to their resting state. In game mechanics terms, it would just depend on how the devs wanted to handle power stones in the future. Like, would they ever want to make a level 8 power stone? Or would they actually want to add another level of additional fusing that you can do with stones? Whatever they decide to do, the Amulet system would be backwards compatible with it. So there you have it, a concept that can work for both new players and veterans in very different ways. And honestly, even as an endgame player, you can even choose to interact with it differently from other players. For example, you might invest in a very specific amulet just to unlock a particular set bonus by slotting one level 7 power stone in there, and then leaving it unless you need it. Or maybe you really like an amulet that just came out and you like all the different options, so you invest all the universal cores and all the power stones to permanently unlock all the effects. Or maybe you just picked up a brand new piece of Titan gear and you want to socket it cheaply. You can skip all these level 7 set bonuses and just socket in a low level stone and have it level up passively. And again, on top of all the things the players can do with it, new amulets can be added over time as developers see fit, shaking up metas or helping players tackle newly released content. Now, while I outlined this amulet's design somewhat thoroughly, I definitely didn't explicitly dive into the burn damage rework or ways to optimize the game like I stated earlier in the video. What I'm getting at with this entire amulet concept is, while yes, a rework is needed for the game's optimization just in general, I kind of would argue that, I don't know, all the other debuffs in the game could use a little bit of a tune-up just in general, and I'm specifically looking at you Azure Stones and bleed damage. You guys suck. But anyways, if the end game design for these effects is handled through amulets, then a straightforward redesign on the base burn effect makes sense. For example, instead of triggering 1,000,000 explosion calculations per second whenever 10 stacks are added, you just cut that down to just exploding once per second. Base the explosion amount off the current burn tick that's rolling. That way you can still have some scaling and it'll still do its AoE explosion, all that good stuff. That would keep things relatively simple enough for early and mid-game players, while the amulet effects gradually kick in for end-game content, as soon as they get to around the Dark Forest point in the game. And yes, the amulet bonuses themselves should be designed to avoid bogging the system down, so keep the concept of slower procs per minute to reduce calculations, all that good stuff. And that's it. Thanks for sticking around to the very end if you made it. What do you guys think? Does this idea have any merit? Is there anything you like about it? Is there a bunch of stuff you don't like about it? Flat out hate it? Whatever it might be, just feel free to sound off in the comments below. I do know that the devs like to hear from everybody, and honestly, I would like to hear from you guys too. So if you have an opinion and like to share it, feel free to. Oh, and one more thing. With the re-release of the Content Creator Program, please be sure to update your Content Creator code with code VIGO in the shop if you would like to support me at all. Thank you so much to everyone who's done so in the past with the previous program. I really did appreciate it. Really nice of you guys. Anyways, good luck out there, everyone, and happy hunting.